Hey yo everybody, what's up? Tom here, back at ya with another video. Man, I want to squeeze this in for that chaos res and that light and that rarity. Um, but these both actually have more life than this, which kind of sucks. I wish I rolled life instead of accuracy. Then this would be nutty. As it stands right now, this only has about 62 life, so let's just look at my life pool. 2309 compared to 2356, 2308, so I lose about 50 life. And my resistances get a little bit fucked, although my chaos res improves. So oh man, I guess I really can't fit it in. I wanted to do it because of the rarity, but don't think that's gonna work. But the question is, do I hold on to it so that I can maybe use it again in the future? Because I think it's got very, very good rarity. It's 2 T1 rarity mods. I was trying to sell this for 2 div. I feel like that's about right. There's nothing quite like it on the trade market, but without the strength, which is like really not anything. Like you can basically replace strength with anything that's mildly useful. Resistance, life, damage, this type of stuff. And these are all probably going to have one that's at least something good. So yeah, it does seem like 2 div is where to price it if I want to sell it. But do I want to just hold on to it? Because it's very, very close to being extremely useful in my build. I need to blow my nose. Give me one sec, guys. Oh, I know what I do. I go here and I go pseudo life. I'm just gonna add pseudo life to this. Well, this is 5 div, but it's obviously way better than mine. 10 div, obviously way better than mine. So 10 div if you actually have the life and the extra resist, which I don't have here. No, if I sell this, I should try 3 divine. Because it does have some life. Right now, the closest thing is 5 div, but it has 83 life and 38 lightning resistance and an open suffix, an open prefix. So you could not desecrate it because it's already desecrated, but you could Yeah, it's also 15 to lightning and chaos, so... Oh yeah, that's what a lot of these are. It seems like a pretty good desecrate you can get. They all have an open prefix. That's interesting. Why do these all have an open prefix? What are they doing? They're desecrating the lightning and chaos. They're probably, when they're desecrating, going for damage, right? Physical damage? No, because why wouldn't they use a prefix omen then? You just need either rarity or life, along with how do you get that? I know you desecrate for lightning chaos, that's obvious, but then the chaos resistance you can get with an essence. So you start off with either 2 rarity or rarity and life. I don't want to do that. I want to run maps. I still need to get the arbiter. And I was gonna go and buy the keys, but I'm so close to 2 of them here. So I might be able to save some money. So all I need to do is run some maps. Let's put this back up for sale, except I'm gonna do 3 div.
I'll do what I can to sell it for you.
Did I ever get like level 19 skill gems? I want
What's new?
level 19 skill gems. Alright, let's do 2 for 10 here. Yeah.
I'll post it right away.
Been a long time since I've seen this screen. Rampage is already level 19? Shit. We're gonna go Furious Slam and Walking Calamity. What? I might as well do Ferocious Roar.
All right, your order is registered.
So, if I have endurance charges, I can chain. I can chain Warcry Slam.
I need more.
I can't do it right now because I don't have endurance charges. But Warcry does armor damage. So if I can break armor with Warcry while doing the Furious Slam, I'll do hella damage. Just another way to like kind of get a broken interaction going. Well, let's go for this. Did I even take a map with me? I only have 1 map. No, I have some in my shop. Let's see if I can avoid having to use that.
Can I help?
Wait, that's a T14.
Oh, it's you.
Go on. Choose what you need. Done. Speak, creature! Face me! Come here! I need more time. You are no warrior. I'm not ready.
Alright, here we go. Copper Citadel. I'm just gonna alch it. I'm gonna give myself 2 retries. I think I'm allowed to do that.
Go on.
Choose what you need. A useful trade. Gold is useless to me. Take it. A useful trade. Go.
What's new? Someone is bound to buy that. Is that a good price for that? I have no idea. Have an order?
Yes? Find more breach remnants for my research.
Your prison is shattered. Now prove yourself. Wretch! You were no warrior. I need more time. Enough! One way or another, this ends here. Did you not learn your lesson the first time? I'm not ready. For my people of Mama. You will not win.
What are you doing?
Let the beast go. I don't have time for this. Sand bends to my will, impedes ready. I cannot. One way or another, this ends here. The Manacast will pay! I need more time. The Faradun is now!
Submit to our
For my people!
God.
The Manacast will pay! The era of the Faradun. One way or another, this ends here! I need more time.
submit to our finished.
I cannot give up. Doom of the desert!
That's just clunky. That's fucking bullshit. Fuck. Ugh. It's fucking clunky as shit.
Speak. This is all we have. The right choice. Go.
What shaped the land like this?
Energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curved. So where does the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. So when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found a whole new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. It's the thing that holds us all together.
Okay,
I didn't do too well in trigonometry. What is the
platonic solids How is energy expressed exactly? By motion? Whatever he could mean by that, he's wrong. For example, potential energy is the energy held by an object by virtue of its position in a field, like a gravitational or electromagnetic field. No motion, yet energy. Matter can be converted to energy, no motion required. No, not all motion is expressed in waves. The motion of a wave is a wave. Periodic motion can be expressed with a wave. Linear motion also exists, hence straight lines exist. What are platonic solids? That's these. Convex regular polyhedra in three-dimensional Euclidean space. Regular polyhedron means that all the sides are the exact same shape, that shape being a particular regular polygon, which means a two-dimensional shape with all the sides and angles being equal. There are 5 of them, and they were conceived of as hypothetical abstractions, just like everything else in geometry. And just for fun, if you take a simple cubic lattice structure for an ionic solid, you can get those straight lines he said don't exist. Again, he did not open any flower of life, he did not conjugate any waves, he doesn't specify what these spaces are and what they are between, or how they hold anything together. In short, it's pseudo-spiritual bullshit, and these anchors are justifiably laughing their asses off. Let's get one more tidbit.
I'm sharing that. On Tuesday, when I receive my star, I'm going to be able to prove that gravity is only an effect and not a force. I'm putting something on YouTube where I will build the planet Saturn without gravity and build the Milky Way galaxy without gravity.
Did you also say you're getting your star?
Yeah.
On the Walk of
On the Walk of Fame.
Interestingly enough, in the context of general relativity, you can argue that gravity is an effect and not a force. But it does not follow, then, that gravity isn't real. And it gets much worse from there. He's going to build Saturn and build the Milky Way galaxy. How exactly? Like in a simulation? That needs gravity. If he built a planet or a galaxy with his hands, I would worship him as the one true God. But something tells me that in reality, he's been watching some electric universe frauds on YouTube, and now he thinks he's smarter than Einstein.
And we've come to find that the universe, they are abandoning the standard model, the ideas of black holes and dark matter, for an electric model of the universe that is in response to the Berkeley currents and all these things. It's a better version, a better vision of how we should see the universe. That's how I see it, and I think it should be explored.
Bingo! Terry binged some Thunderbolts project videos and is repeating what he heard as though he thought of it. Then this woman tries to change the subject again, and he starts whining about not ever having been nominated for an Emmy. Anyway, this is the magnitude of nut job we are dealing with, but it gets much worse. Around that same time, Terrence started yapping about his new form of math, which he dubbed, I shit you not, Terryology, and which included the startling new revelation that 1 times 1 is 2. Which prestigious mathematics journal did he select to announce this groundbreaking development? The View. Let's take a look.
And when I was at Oxford, now this is the point where 4 bubbles meet equally and oppositely. Yes, and it's where 12 planes meet. This is an undiscovered geometry that I'm now making known to the world here on this show.
Isn't that fantastic?
What was the reception? Well, when I was at Oxford, they were so upset because how can a man that didn't graduate from one of their prestigious schools come and tell them that the square root of 2 was a rational number? And I said, I didn't come to tell you guys this. I just came to prove to you that it's a rational number. And I didn't come to school. 12 bubbles meet.
Let's take a look.
And when I was at Oxford, now this is the point where 4 bubbles meet equally and oppositely. Yes, and it's where 12 planes meet. This is an undiscovered geometry that I'm now making known to the world here on this show.
Isn't that fantastic?
What was the reception? Well, when I was at Oxford, they were so upset because how can a man that didn't graduate from one of their prestigious schools come and tell them that the square root of 2 was a rational number? And I said, I didn't come to tell you guys this. I just came to prove to you that it's a rational number. And they didn't like it.
You heard right. Terrence presented his bullshit at Oxford, and the smart people laughed at him. But why would they laugh at poor old Terry? Do you think the ladies of The View will be a more receptive audience?
Well, you have.
I gotta watch that.
Of everything around you. And if you quiet yourself, you can think about those things. Well, apparently I did that at the last passage, because when I came into this life, I woke up, remember, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And the first thing I did was worked out the flower of life. When I was 6 years old, I started making these pieces. What Da Vinci tried to do at 80, I did at 6 years old because I had been working on it perhaps from a past life. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm crazy or there's reincarnation or anything, but we know that energy does not die. Energy just reboots itself and reboots itself. So we are eternal, so stop panicking, thinking your life is over. You've done this trillions of times. You'll get good at it and we'll be perfect one time if we get conscious, but we have to get conscious. Because I can either say I'm the smartest man in the world, that I figured out what nobody else in the world could figure out.
What's that?
With Aristotle, with Plato, Pythagoras, all of them tried to figure this out, but I know I am not smarter than these men. So I know that there's something to the consciousness of carrying things through, because the information and the knowledge that I have, I didn't go to school. I had a 1.6 grade point average graduating from high school, because I had other things to do. But this information kind of educated me along the way because I was born into it. And now I have the pieces to follow it, and hopefully Chris and maybe Oxford and some of will do some of the vetting for these things, and we can change the world. But if not, I'll keep doing it, and I'll do it in the next lifetime. If not this one, and in the next lifetime after that. Just remember, and another thing, don't forget, you know, you go from positive to negative, everything polarizes positive to negative, then more than likely, with each lifetime, male to female, male to female, if the universe is consistent. I think it is.
Great, thank you for that question. Yeah, let's go to you.
Thank you very much for talking to us, and also your view on consciousness and energy sounds very similar to what Dr. Robert Lanza proposes in biocentrism, so that may be of interest to you if you haven't read that text. But about 5 years ago you spoke about harmonic wave sequencing and how that could
harmonic wave resequencing,
and how that could possibly solve cancer or genetic ailments within the next 5 years. I think that was about 5 years ago. So is there much progress on that? And how do you propose that this resequencing would actually recode people's genetics in order to prevent them from getting these ailments?
Simple. Our DNA is made up of what? 5 elements, right? Hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and oxygen. Do you know how they're arranged? The phosphorus sits right here in the middle, and you've got 4 oxygen atoms surrounding it. Then there's another phosphorus, 2 more oxygen atoms. Now these are the legs of that double helix. These are the legs. Now the latter steps on it, they become the adenine, the guanine, the cytosine, and thymine, the ATCGs. It turns out hydrogen, they used to think that energy, the body transferred or understood the energy information through electricity. They're finding out it's through frequency. Well, guess what hydrogen sounds like? It's a key of E. Guess what, and it's the color yellow. That's what proper physics gets you to.
All those.
Oxygen is a chartreuse, and it's the key of F over F sharp. Now they used to, like I said, information used to be thought about as just electrical information passing on. But I got a question for you. Have you ever been at a party with some of your friends you ain't seen in 10 years, but y'all was like 14, you hung out and there's a song that came on and you go, and everybody got up and was live at that moment. Now say 10 years later you got a friend with you, he's a good guy, But he wasn't there when me and my boys formed this. So when that song comes on, our DNA tightens. 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 There's a particular song, a scale in the genome for each and every one of us. Now when that song is played, when your particular prime resonant frequency is played, guess what happens? Your DNA celebrates and tightens. Everything else gets pushed out. Harmonic wave resequencing. The carbon is also the key of E in yellow. The nitrogen is G. And all these play a song. So say that the F over F sharps of the oxygen, the green, is only hitting at an F. Why? Because there's another frequency coming in from a generator over there. That's changing and causing it to change. So this F now hits the oxygen. And when it hits, the F hits the carbon, so instead of hitting as an F sharp, it hits as an F, so when it hits the carbon and an E, it doesn't hit it quite right, so the domino don't file right. So the next domino hits wrong. And so now we have malformation happening within our DNA because the frequencies are being pushed off. But when we hear our tone, we tighten back up. So yeah, I'm in the process of building the harmonic wave resequencer with another doctor who has been able to successfully cure AIDS and cancer. And it's well underway. But I wanted you guys to understand how that works. It's so simple. You do not need to tear the human body apart when all you can do is use frequency to bring it back to its normal space.
Great, thank you for that question. Yeah, let's get to you.
Thank you so much. I've always been interested in acting, so it's pretty cool to be in the presence of an actor. But my question actually has to do with your numbers theory. So if by your logic you say 1 times 1 equals 2, are you insinuating that 1 times 0 then equals 1?
Equals 1. Well, that's what we were saying with the identity principle. The identity property, it says that 1 times nothing equals nothing. Something, so now you have the laws of physics have to now adjust because something just disappeared. Conservation of energy, energy can't be created or destroyed. So if 1 times 0 equals 0, then what happened to the energy of the 1? Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawking was talking about with the event horizon and the information going in and still being present? That conflict that was started? Well, that's because of the math. The principles in the math are not founded on truth. It's not founded on substance. The identity principle, anything times 0 is 0, and anything times 1 is 1. Where is that number? Where is that exemplified in nature or in universal phenomena? Is it? Do you see that?
So then, are you saying that 1 times 5 would be 6?
Yes. Well, what does it say in the associative and commutative thing?
So you're
if A and B
proposing-
are positive integers, it says if A and B are positive integers, A is to be added to itself as many times as is indicated by units in B.
So you're not proposing an audit, you're proposing like a
well, I'm not the first one
reconstruction
to
of
say
the way
we
we
need to do
understand
this.
math.
You know what's interesting? In 1856, a man from Liverpool named Richard Dover Statter.
How did they build rockets and fly to the moon if math didn't work? That's an interesting question. How did they build rockets and go to the moon if gravity didn't work the way they thought it did? That's a hard question. I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to really think about that.
You have to remember our entire world economy is based on 1 times 1 equaling 1.
Yeah, our entire economy is based on 1 times 1 equaling 1. Well, economics does involve numbers, so it should obey the basic logic surrounding numbers that even children can understand. So what's the problem?
So if you can prove that an action times an action equals a reaction, which science proves, then 1 times 1 must equal more than 1. And to have the physical proof of it, that kind of shakes things up a bit.
Well, you're a shaker-upper.
Wow, if you can prove that an action times an action equals a reaction. Okay, numbers are not actions. They're numbers. So that doesn't mean anything. An action times an action also doesn't mean anything because actions are not numbers. Also, no, 2 actions do not necessarily cause a reaction, no matter what he could possibly mean by reaction. If 2 forces are acting on an object that are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, the object won't move. 2 actions, no reaction. Sorry, Terry, but more importantly than demonstrating how everything he just said is bananas idiotic, let's review what multiplication is. Multiplication is an elementary arithmetic operation which is essentially repeated addition. 1 times 4 literally means the number 1 4 times, and then you add them up. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. 1 times 3, write 1 3 times. Add them up, you get 3. 1 times 2, 1 twice. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 times 1 means you write 1 1 time. So it's 1. There's nothing to add. His revolutionary discovery is just him being dumber than a toddler. And toddlers do like to shake things, so this lady isn't wrong.
Well, you're a shaker-upper.
Let's be clear, there are only 2 possibilities. 1, Terrence Howard is doing a Joaquin Phoenix-style extended piece of performance art and is therefore profoundly brilliant. Or 2, he's a delusional narcissist incapable of living his life without pretending that he's the smartest person in human history. Or let's be honest, a god. I'm putting my money on the latter because I've seen this all before. Pick your favorite flat earther. This is their defense mechanism too. The smallest of minds can't face a world that doesn't recognize their self-proclaimed brilliance. So unleash a word salad, convince yourself it's science, and hope that nobody challenges you on it.
Everything inherently is dielectric because it has matter, and then it has a relationship within the medium, the universal background, the absolute frame of reference, the field of energy that is the ether. It receives energy from that.
These types of people enact the most impressive mental gymnastics imaginable to maintain their own ego, and the more I encounter it, the less I find it cute or entertaining. It's a disease that infects impressionable people and measurably worsens society. It's not something to simply laugh at, although we are going to laugh quite a bit more before I return to this thread in my conclusion. So as promised, let's dive into his very recent appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's 3 hours long, so we aren't going to hit every moment. Rest assured, he was completely insane from top to bottom, but let's just go through some highlights.
My first memory was almost like when you're dreaming and you're falling and you hit the bottom and you wake up. Mm-hmm. That was my first memory, but I didn't wake up here. I was inside my mother's womb. And I was about maybe 6 months inside the womb.
He comes out hot in the first 30 seconds, claiming that he remembers being in his mother's womb. I'll remove the suspense for you. No, he didn't. That's physically impossible. Got any proof, Terry?
I remember all of that.
You remember coming out?
Remember being compressed. You remember being born. I remember being circumcised. I remember the whole 9. And the proof of it was when my wife, Mira, that you just met, when she was 6 months pregnant with my son, Kieran, I wanted to prove to her what I was talking about. So I put a light on her stomach every day at 6 o'clock at night. And I would move that light back and forth, and I'd put a song on for a week straight. First thing he wanted to do is see light. He loved lights from that early stage, and I can ask him the square root of 2, the square root of 5, the square root of that, the square root of pi, and he will run it off.
So his proof of him remembering being born is a random anecdote about his wife's pregnancy, his kid liking light, and a lie about his son being able to do math that Terry himself can't do. But there's more.
And then when I was about 5 years old, I had another dream. and there was this mansion, and he would hand me these shapes, and each shape was different and amazing, and I had access to all the knowledge. The proof of it is the 97 patents that I have now. The proof of it is the industries that I've innovated.
Yes, the proof that he has access to all the universe's knowledge is that he has some patents, something that anybody can get for anything and proves absolutely nothing except that he likes to waste money. He's never innovated any industry, that's why he doesn't actually do anything except ramble like a lunatic on podcasts.
You know, I had the Grand Unified Field Equation. I had already put that together, and at 7, 8, I was working with these things, and then I went through all of the hell that I had to go through.
Yes, he had a grand unified field equation at 7 years old, but he wrote it down once and the dog ate it, and then he forgot what it was. That's why he didn't get the Nobel Prize for physics. Also, his girlfriend goes to another school. That's why you don't know her.
But my intention was to rebuild the periodic table, you know, build a new periodic table. Because the stuff I had learned in college, you know, I went to school for chemical engineering the first year over at Pratt. And they, at the time, I think it was like 108 elements. And I told the teacher, the professor, about the relationship between hydrogen on the spectrometer and carbon and silicon and cobalt. And it was like, it's the same exact color, same tone, just doubled in each octave. And he was like, no, each element is the same element and it will always be that element. And I was like, you don't see the relationship. So I left school.
Did you leave school or did you flunk out because you kept writing cobalt is an octave of carbon on your exams instead of answering the questions?
And I was going to spend 40 years rebuilding the periodic table, and I found out that Walter Russell had already did that. And he did it based upon the natural curvature of everything.
Walter Russell, who was not a chemist, made this in the 1920s, and it doesn't mean anything. The chemical elements display periodicity. You can illustrate that periodicity in rows, or you can make spirals and other shapes. It's arbitrary, and listing elements this way doesn't offer any novel insight into chemistry or any predictive power whatsoever. Terry just likes the shape as much as he likes pretending to understand chemistry better than chemists, or 10th graders for that matter.
And when you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, you'll see hydrogen sitting all the way over there by itself, but they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone, same key of E. Same key of E. 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt and it'll be 324 hertz. It's, you know, in that base, if you were to take the angles of incidence or the tones that they create, you know, their color. Like you can turn color back into sound.
Joe wants to know what the hell he's talking about, and Terry is off to the races rambling about tones. Elements are not tones. They're not notes. They're not keys. They're not anything related to music whatsoever. They're atoms with a particular number of protons in the nucleus. He's throwing out random terminology and random numbers. Angle of incidence has to do with light. Sounds are not colors, and there's nothing more to say about this unparalleled gibberish.
You'll see there's a relationship between hydrogen, carbon, silicon, cobalt, rhodium. They're all bonded. They're all sit as the middle point between two noble gases. So those things don't really exist. It's only one substance.
No, Terry, those elements exist. Hydrogen and carbon and silicon and cobalt and rhodium are different elements. They are not the same thing. Hydrogen gas is not the same as a hunk of coal, which is not the same as a sample of silicon, and so forth. They're just the halfway point of their respective periods, which is irrelevant.
Now the problem is, the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element, because before it is too dense for us to perceive it. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
No, hydrogen is the first element because it's the element with one proton in its nucleus. Elements are defined by the number of protons in the nucleus, and hydrogen has one. That's the smallest positive integer. Of course, you're so insane that even something as trivial as 1 being the smallest positive integer can no longer be taken for granted in your illustrious presence.
But as you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone, because the carbon has 2 tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side. The part where lithium behaves, lithium is contractive. Beryllium is contractive. Boron is contractive. But the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. It gets to a perfect balance of plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone.
Carbon is bisexual, you guys. Atoms have sexuality. Elements being contractive is also meaningless. Everything he is saying is meaningless.
And what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium. And oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium.
Ah, yes, the infamous they. What are they trying to keep from us now? You want to perform electrolysis on water? But how? Not electricity, heavens no. Use beryllium. But wait, not even beryllium itself, just the sound of beryllium. What's that sound again? Yep, that's what beryllium sounds like. Startling, no? I'm sorry that I made all the water in your body turn into hydrogen and oxygen gas and you're dead now. Elements don't have sounds, but even funnier than that, beryllium is the only alkaline earth metal that does not react with water. Every time he speaks, he's wrong in so many ways simultaneously that it's almost impressive.
The reason that arsenic kills us is because our DNA has nitrogen and it has phosphorus in it, because nitrogen unwinds into the next octave right after silicon and becomes phosphorus. Our DNA has both of those in there, but it's going by tone, so the moment arsenic, which sits as a -3 on the next octave, the moment arsenic is introduced, the body thinks that, oh, this is my thing that I need, and it tries to wrap itself around the arsenic, but it causes the DNA to unravel.
Wow, arsenic is harmful because it interferes with biochemical pathways. For example, it enacts allosteric inhibition of pyruvate dehydrogenase, which is an enzyme involved in aerobic respiration. That means it binds to the enzyme, in this case not specifically at the active site, and the interaction changes the shape of the enzyme just enough to render it incapable of carrying out its function. The cell can't make ATP, so it enacts apoptosis and dies. There are similar effects on other enzymes involved with signaling, DNA repair, and so forth. Virtually anything that's harmful to biological systems is harmful because of sophisticated interactions with the cellular machinery, which require knowledge of molecular biology to understand. No, DNA does not wrap around arsenic, nor does it unravel. Terry has no clue what DNA is, what it does, or literally anything about molecules in general.
But nature doesn't allow us to unravel that, but now, with the wave conjugations, we can. We couldn't do that before because we didn't know the angles of incidence that were necessary to open these things up. And you couldn't do that with the platonic solids because the platonic solids were averages and approximations.
It really is just breathtaking the way he throws together totally unrelated terminology with this much confidence. What does one even do with this? Wave conjugation, angle of incidence, platonic solids. These don't go together. It's like saying you need 6 hammer the ice cream to monkey of 11 dizzy. Your reaction to these two statements should be the same. And the platonic solids are specifically the opposites of averages and approximations. They are hypothetical idealized structures. Reality consists of approximations. Again, it's just breathtaking. It's legitimately challenging to come up with sentences that are as wrong as everything he says. It took me several minutes to write the monkey sentence because I kept wanting to write things like monkey of fire, which accidentally make more sense than I wanted. He has a gift for gibberish.
Because the universe is based off of equanimity, which Einstein left out in his theory of relativity, the balancing side of the gravity was caused by electric force. Electricity is always seeking a higher pressure condition. It spins northeast, is trying to get to the center of an area, the center of a cone. But the next electric wave is coming, so it gets pushed out, and as it's pushed out, it gets to the vortices.
Yeah, gravity is not electric. Matter specifically disperses from higher to lower pressure. You can't spin northeast, that's a cardinal direction. Center of an area can't mean center of a cone, since areas are two-dimensional and a cone is three-dimensional. And what is pushed out to what vortices? How does this guy do this? We are only 19 minutes in, and it's all like this.
That instead of following the natural curvature of these 64 circles overlapping, they averaged the space where they met. And they invented straight lines.
Why did they do that?
Because they believed that the world was flat.
The irony here is that figures like Pythagoras and Parmenides were the first people in recorded history to propose that the Earth is a sphere and substantiate it logically. But more importantly, the Platonic solids are just derived from playing with polygons and making polyhedra. And even more importantly than that, none of this geometry has any correlation with any of the bullshit he's spewing about chemistry and physics. They're utterly separate realms. Then we get to the fancy animations.
This is hydrogen. And as I was saying, electricity is always trying to get to the center of that triangle, but it gets pushed out.
That's not hydrogen. It's not even a triangle. And where's the electricity exactly?
8 bubbles me. They gave me the patents to that. I called that the tetrahedron.
Don't worry, guys. He patented the shape. You can patent shapes now. I know the guy who has the patent on the rhombus. He's a billionaire.
Spheres that's going around this, but the greater attractor has grabbed the 2 weaker attractors. And this looks just like a photon, and guess what? It has 30 poles.
Yeah, it looks just like a photon. Massless, chargeless photons look like this dumb shape he made up, because he says so.
This is where 12 bubbles meet, the Aubrians. And then I put 5 of them together, and they make these natural starfish. But then when I put 10 of them together, they lay themselves out, and they predict all distribution of matter within the electric field.
Hey, he used the magic word, prediction. What do they predict? The distribution of matter what? Where? Show us a prediction, Terry. No? Back to gibberish?
One of the first things, but when Walter Russell came out with his book and he introduced his periodic table, he watched as different people went up and collected Nobel Prizes for deuterium, for tritium, for all these things that he had discovered. And I was like, okay, let me wait until the patents are granted before I'll talk about it.
Walter Russell wasn't a chemist. He was an artist, and he was delusional. That's why you worship him, Terry. People aren't awarded Nobel Prizes in chemistry for drawing pretty pictures. Urey got a Nobel for discovering deuterium because that actually matters. You just don't know what isotopes are, even though you use that word all the time.
Back to Neil deGrasse. When he wrote his response to my paper, and he said, if you have any other questions, you're going to have to see somebody else, and he wouldn't take my calls anymore. I was like, okay, so I wrote the book based off of those responses, and I reached out to another guy, Dr. David Tong.
But that would be very, very interesting that would be his take as a public educator, that he wouldn't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, Terry sent his ramblings to Neil deGrasse Tyson, since everyone who knows 0 things about science assumes that Neil is the president of science, and Neil was gracious enough to explain to him how everything he says is wrong, probably more politely than I would. But Terry, the narcissist, presses forward, shocked that an intelligent, busy person wouldn't want to waste his time placating a toddler. Joe seems surprised, too, forgetting that educators enjoy educating people, not spending time and energy trying to show an insane person how insane they are. Why this fixation with Neil?
The reason I wanted to talk to him was because of his show, The Cosmos, that he was doing after that incredible guy, Carl Sagan did. The very first episode he had was talking about Giordano Bruno.
And he said that Giordano Bruno was looking for that grand unified field equation, and maybe one day somebody is going to do it. And when they do it, it's going to change the world. And I'm like, dude, I've done it. I've got it here.
Giordano Bruno was not looking for a grand unified field equation. Quantum physics didn't exist in the 16th century. The concept of fields didn't exist in general. The term was coined by Faraday in the 19th century. This is the problem with science-illiterate morons like Terry. They have no respect for science whatsoever. They have no interest in learning basic scientific principles, the history of science, what any scientist did, what scientists are doing now, how to do science. None of it. They are singularly obsessed with the lofty idea of one brilliant insight that can change the world. It doesn't matter what it's called. That's why he keeps saying grand unified field equation, because it doesn't mean anything to him. It's a fun phrase, nothing more. That's what everyone was trying to do since antiquity because he says so, and he's the one who's done it because he says so.
Walter Russell talked about the fact that the sun gave birth to the earth, that it didn't coalesce from some field, and the proof of this. Do you guys know that the earth is drifting away from the sun, and all of the planets in every solar system is drifting away from their primary at the same exact rate, like 1.5 centimeters. So this is a universal expansion that's happening with everything moving away. So them saying and the Webb telescope has proven that those galaxies couldn't have formed 13, 14 billion years ago. But if you would just add up linearly how long it would take the Earth to go from the sun to 93 million miles away, it's 9 trillion. Hold on. Let's go.
This is what I'm talking about. He can't be bothered to learn literally anything about astronomy. The expansion of the universe has nothing to do with the dynamics of an individual solar system. The sun did not give birth to the Earth, as though our planet emerged from inside of a star. He knows nothing about planetary formation, and the idea that we have measured this for all other systems, how exactly would that work? We can detect an exoplanet's orbit increasing by a centimeter. How? But sure, play with your calculator that you already told us shouldn't be used because it lies about arithmetic.
Well, because I know they're watching me right now, and they're mad at me.
Who's they?
The people that want that. Our entire world economy is based off of the politicians and the authorities that give their politicians their accreditation. And those authorities, those universities, are all based, their entire curriculum is based off the Platonic solids. And our world economy is based off of 1 × 1 = 1.
You think they fuck with your phone?
Oh, I'm sure, because now I have to turn it off.
Look at the level of paranoia beyond the simple delusions. The shadow government is watching Terry because he debunked the Platonic solids, which are the basis of every economics course in every Rockefeller Jesuit institution. I'm shocked that he's not a flat earther because this is exactly how they talk. But don't worry, he's an anti-vaxxer, obviously, and Joe is too.
You took a bold stand, though, years ago when the governments were trying to poison their citizens. You took a very bold stand that nobody else took. That's what I was like, wow, I appreciate you, because I lost 3, 4 jobs because I refused to take it. I refused.
I bet you feel better about it now.
Well,
especially when you know all these people that have health problems because of it.
Cancers has increased 300%.
Yeah. All-cause mortality up 40% in some age groups.
Pulmonary embolisms almost up like 500%.
Yeah, wonder what caused that.
No, none of those things are true. You heard them on the internet and believed them. But Terry has a little bit of biochemistry knowledge he wants to share.
I can walk you through what the spike protein did to the BRCA1 gene. That's that gene inside of our DNA that tells us that there's damage that's happening, almost like a cruise that go along the highway, and they immediately put up cones every time there's a problem. Well, the spike protein, which is no protein has ever been able to enter into the nucleus of a cell. Not only does it go to the ribosomes and say, hey, you know what? I don't want you to produce whatever protein, like if it was skin skin cell. You're not going to produce keratin anymore. You're just going to produce these spike proteins. That spike protein went into the DNA, and it tells the BRCA1 gene, turn off. And that's the gene that says, hey, there's a mutation here. Let's scrap that thing. And so now the cancers are building up.
The spike protein doesn't do anything to any gene. He doesn't know what genes are. Genes don't tell us things. They are instructions for protein assembly. That's why he goes to his pathetic analogy of something he saw on the highway, because he doesn't know how transcription and translation work. There is nothing unique about this spike protein, and he doesn't know what ribosomes do. They translate any mRNA transcript that binds. Making a spike protein doesn't render it incapable of producing other proteins. Spike proteins can't go into DNA. They can't tell a gene anything. They can't turn off genes. Genes don't detect mutations. The enzymes they code for are what do that, and he doesn't know what cancer is. This is really pathetic. Let's skip ahead.
So is he saying that just by doing these calculations, he created the exact form of Saturn, including the rings?
Just the exact form of it.
Just with the calculations.
So you change the angles of incidence that these linchpins, because remember, each one of these are opposing vortices. So there's 12 vortices to this that are opposing. So once the angles of incidence change, you change the motion and pressure conditions, you can now change the condition or the crystallization.
So he's pretending to explain planetary formation without gravity, and without explaining literally anything about what he's doing. Click a button, the planet is there. What are the dots? Where did the matter come from? How did it arrange itself? Planetary formation is a process. This just materialized out of thin air. How? There are no vortices. Nothing is opposing. There is no angle of incidence. There is no crystallization. He is just listing random buzzwords.
Now, because we have the angles of incidence, material engineering can now separate the space between carbon and nitrogen or carbon and boron and have the same elements of titanium, vanadium, chromium, magnesium, and iron, or nickel, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, gallium, or germanium in those higher octaves. We can do that between silicon and phosphorus or silicon and aluminum. So the transparent aluminum now becomes possible because we can now control the pressure and change the pressure and motion conditions where we couldn't do that before because they were going by Cartesian space at 90 degrees and 45 degrees straight lines, the Euclidean space that they've made up, this orthogonal or church-like space that they've generated because they wanted to promote that cross.
He doesn't even know the names of the elements. He's saying manganese instead of manganese. He says silicone instead of silicon because he doesn't know that silicone is a different material. He can't pronounce orthogonal. He's never even heard these words spoken before, and he is doing nothing whatsoever to actually explain anything about what he just showed to Joe. He's practically speaking in tongues, and Joe is lapping it up. And as the cherry on top, he pretends that this brilliance was hidden because the Catholic Church loves the straight lines from the cross. Does he not know how much power this symbol still has over normal people even today who would never fall for any of this bullshit? He just knows that churching up the story gives it a Da Vinci Code vibe that ensnares gullible people.
Can you tell me how a planet is formed under this theory? So you have a sun, and how does the sun give birth to these planets?
The same way we defecate and have gas, like Jupiter's, that red spot on Jupiter, that's spinning on it, that's going to become a moon. It may take a billion or 2 billion years. That will ultimately become a moon off of Jupiter. Where is it? Right at the equator. Where do we discharge at? Right at our equator.
90 minutes in, Joe finally asks him to actually explain something, and Terry's response is astounding. Stars crap out planets the way we take a dump on the toilet. Case closed, everyone. Planets are fecal matter. And the red spot on Jupiter will be a planet later. Of course, this is meaningless since it's a storm. It's a cyclone. How does a bunch of wind form a planet exactly? And he's just so objectively wrong about every trivial detail. The red spot is not at the equator. It's 22 degrees below the equator. Humans don't have equators to defecate from, and the human anus is not located on the waist. This is such a stunning example of the difference between real science and insane ramblings. Ask this question of an astrophysicist. You'll get mountains of data, explanations, equations, predictions, confirmations of those predictions through observation. Ask Terry, and what do you get? The sun takes a crap. The end. Who falls for this stuff?
Everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. It's recognizing the divinity in you.
Actually, neither of those people said anything like that. Buddha didn't proclaim to be divine, and in Christian mythology, Jesus didn't say, "I'm God and so are all of you." He just said that he was God. That's kind of why the Romans killed him. Terry is just looking for excuses to call himself God, and he's as dumb with theology as he is with science.
Here I'm an Oscar-nominated actor that is known all around the world, face recognition, vocal recognition, all around the world. I've invented a new form of flight, tangential flight, the ability to fly around your own center of mass, something they've never been able to do. And you don't hear anything about it.
The narcissism is oozing out of every pore of his body and congealing into little origami cranes in front of our eyes. He's world famous, kind of, so his imaginary invention must be brilliant. Tangential flight? Tangent to what? He doesn't know what a tangent is. And of course, his little toddler toy doesn't actually fly or do anything. He just has cute animations.
Instead of all the props having to turn themselves around to stop and turn in the opposite direction,
like a helicopter.
They just switch the direction. They just so it's a collective pitch, and it changes. And so now, instead of going up, you're going down, but now 5 of them will come together. So I was trying to reach out to Elon Musk. I was trying to reach out to Jeff Bezos. Because my main goal was I was building these to clean up the upper atmosphere, all of that debris that's up there, and ultimately to mine the asteroid belt.
You can immediately see that someone is clicking on a screen to trigger an animation, so it's anyone's guess as to why Elon Musk should care about this crappy video game. Terry is not only smarter than every physicist in history, but he's better at building spacecrafts than everyone alive, despite never having built anything. The hubris is off the charts. It's not worth listening to this entire rant, but he genuinely believes that he has invented revolutionary technology and that he's being ignored for literally no reason.
And so it's just going to react, and immediately it converts into a plasma. And so we can project anything into space. All of that has been accomplished, and it's ignored.
Delusional narcissists always have this precise brand of persecution complex. James Tour, Ben Davidson, they all do the same thing. All the experts are morons because they ignore my super brilliant revolutionary insights. The whole establishment is against me because they're afraid of my truth. Honestly, I think we've had enough. I got 2 hours into the 3-hour podcast, and there's just no point in continuing. It's the epitome of manic hogwash with virtually nothing to even sink your teeth into, and there's only so many times I can point out that what he's saying is meaningless. In the end, there's only one point that needs to be made. Pretentious tools like Terry can hope to fool as many people as they can by speaking confidently and using jargon they hope the listener doesn't understand. But what can they do with it? What can they physically achieve with it? Terry thinks he's reinvented physics, but that's because